Usually when we talk about like navigating a complex landscape, there's this expectation of absolute objectivity.
Right, like a map.
Yeah, exactly. Or think about the GPS on your phone. You type in a destination, the little blue line appears, and a completely neutral voice just tells you exactly where to turn.
Right, in 500 feet.
Exactly. It's external, it's totally predetermined, and it's honestly incredibly comforting,
Yep.
because you're basically outsourcing the responsibility of the route to a system outside of yourself.
It's a closed loop. The system charts the course. It validates every single step you take. And, well, as long as you follow the instructions, you entirely avoid the anxiety of being lost.
But then you step into the realm of human development, right?
Yeah.
Into the actual mechanics of personal growth, and suddenly that GPS signal just drops entirely.
You're off the grid.
Completely off the grid. We are suddenly looking at a navigational landscape that is completely internal and entirely unmapped.
Right.
Which, makes the whole endeavor of personal growth feel incredibly disorienting for you.
Oh, absolutely.
So, welcome to this custom-tailored deep dive. Today's conversation is built entirely around a really short but fiercely written manifesto that you sent us, actually, about navigating this exact internal map. It's just a file called 12v.docs, but man, it packs a punch.
It really does. And, what stands out immediately in this material is that it doesn't offer the usual comforting platitudes about just believing in yourself.
Right. No fluffy stuff here.
None at all. It actually deconstructs a very specific cognitive trap that we literally all fall into, and it provides a pretty rigorous psychological framework for shedding our reliance on external validation. It's really about understanding the raw mechanics of why we do what we do.
Okay, let's unpack this, because the core argument here revolves around the feedback loop that we rely on every single day. The author sets a remarkably rigid boundary right at the onset, arguing that true growth only begins the moment you value honest feedback more than empty praise.
I love that phrasing. And that word begins is doing like a lot of heavy lifting there.
How so?
Well, it suggests that everything prior to that shift in valuation isn't actually growth. It's just maintenance.
Oh, wow. Just treading water.
Exactly. And if we look at the psychological mechanism behind that, it makes perfect sense. Empty praise, the compliments we constantly seek out just to feel good about ourselves, that functions as a social safety signal.
Right. The pat on the back.
Yeah, when someone praises you, your brain gets a hit of dopamine, signaling that you are accepted by the group. It says, hey, you're safe here.
But being safe doesn't actually require you to change anything, does it?
Precisely the opposite, actually. The biological function of that dopamine hit is to reinforce your current behavior.
So it's basically saying, don't change.
Exactly. It tells your nervous system, whatever you are doing, just keep doing it, because the tribe approves. So really, it is a signal of stagnation. Compliments might, temporarily elevate your mood, but they provide zero actionable data to increase your capability.
I was trying to think of a way to visualize this, and it's like empty praise is basically like eating cotton candy for dinner.
Oh, cotton candy. I like that.
Right. Because it feels great in the moment, it's pure sugar, but it provides absolutely no nutritional value to help you actually grow.
Just a temporary rush.
Exactly. Whereas constructive criticism, on the other hand, is like a really tough physical workout.
It hurts.
It hurts. It breaks you down momentarily, but, well, it's the only way to build actual strength.
That is a great analogy.
Which brings us to the friction of it all, because the text points out that criticism is the only way to reveal our blind spots. But practically speaking, our default reaction to correction is almost never gratitude.
No, definitely not.
It's usually this immediate visceral defensiveness, right? The walls go right up. Why is it so incredibly hard for us to just accept the data?
Well, it comes down to how the brain processes a challenge to our behavior. We basically suffer from this cognitive error where we fuse our actions with our identity.
Oh, interesting. So we blur the lines.
We completely blur them. When someone points out, say, a flaw in your work or a mistake in your judgment, your amygdala, which is the threat detection center of the brain, it often processes that not as a helpful piece of data about a specific task, but as a direct attack on your status and your identity within the group.
So on a neurological level, a piece of constructive feedback at work can literally feel like a predator in the bushes.
Yes.
We react as if our literal survival is threatened.
It is a fight-or-flight response applied to modern social dynamics. And this is exactly why the source material demands a conscious override of that biological impulse.
You have to force it.
You do. It directs us to treat sincere correction not as an offense, but as an active tool being handed to us. You have to intellectually step in and decouple the action from the identity.
So you had to shift from hearing, you are fundamentally flawed,
Hmm.
to hearing, here's a specific behavioral adjustment that will make you more effective.
Exactly. It is the difference between treating feedback as a final grade on your worth versus treating it as a calibration tool for your internal compass.
A calibration tool. I like that.
And that calibration is literally impossible if you are surrounded by people who only tell you what you want to hear. If you want to navigate unmapped territory, you need high-fidelity signals, not the comfortable noise of empty praise.
Right, which naturally pushes us into the second major phase of the document. Because if you actually manage to do this, if you stop optimizing your life for the dopamine hits of praise and start seeking out that high-fidelity calibration, your behavior inevitably changes.
It has to.
Yeah, you start making decisions based on your own internal principles rather than, what is going to get you the most applause from the crowd.
You move from compliance to authentic alignment.
But the text notes that this shift triggers massive social friction. It becomes this ultimate relationship filter.
Oh, yeah. It really does.
By walking your own path and making value-based decisions, you quickly discover who genuinely supports you and who is just there for the convenience of your conformity.
We often operate under the assumption that the people cheering for us when we are conforming to the group's expectations, that they are our biggest supporters.
Right, because they're clapping the loudest.
Exactly. But this framework forces us to realize that conformity-based support is structurally incredibly fragile.
I hear that, but practically speaking, this is where the theory hits a very tough reality for a lot of people.
Sure.
Because we are historically wired to need the tribe, right?
Yeah.
If I suddenly stop caring about the approval of my social circle or my professional network, and I just start making decisions based purely on my internal principles, don't I risk becoming a total outcast?
It feels like it.
Yeah. Shedding the fear of losing approval sounds less like liberation and more like a terrifying recipe for isolation.
That is a very genuine evolutionary fear, and the friction you're describing is entirely real. It is terrifying to risk the approval of your circle, but we have to analyze the implicit social contract of those comfortable relationships.
Okay, what do you mean by that?
Well, why do people offer us approval in the first place? Often it's because our compliance makes them feel secure. Our predictability reinforces their own worldview.
Oh, wow. So when I change, when I start acting on my own principles instead of the group's expectations, I am essentially breaking that unspoken contract with them.
You are.
I am no longer playing the role they assigned to me.
And that forces them to either adapt to your new trajectory or, more likely, push back to maintain the status quo. The text explicitly addresses this by contrasting comfortable times with difficult times.
Right.
When you're people-pleasing, you're living in a comfortable time. There's no friction because you're constantly bending to fit the mold. But the moment you stand up straight, you introduce social friction. You initiate a difficult time for the dynamic of that relationship.
Which acts as a stress test for the relationship itself.
Exactly. Think of it like renovating a house.
Okay, I love a good house metaphor.
When you start tearing down the internal walls to open up the space, you quickly discover the difference between drywall and load-bearing pillars.
Oh, that is good.
Right. Drywall is just there to divide the space. It's convenient, it's easy to put up, but it offers zero structural support. If you remove it, the house still stands. Load-bearing pillars, on the other hand, are foundational.
So the people who are only invested in your compliance, they're just the drywall.
Exactly. When you strip away your need for approval, you are knocking down the drywall. The people who get angry, who pull away, or who try to force you back into your old shape, they were never really supporting you.
They were just occupying space in your life.
Yes, based purely on the convenience of your conformity. But the text is actually very reassuring here because those who stay beside you when you choose your own direction, the people who remain standing when the conformity is stripped away, those are the load-bearing pillars.
They are invested in your growth, not your compliance. That distinction is profound because it reframes the whole fear of isolation. You aren't actually risking true friendships, You're only risking the superficial connections that were holding you back in the first place. You are just clearing the room so you can see the actual architecture of your social support.
It is a necessary purge, but it does leave us with a highly relevant functional problem.
Which is?
If you have stripped away all the drywall, and you are no longer using the applause of the crowd or the approval of your peers to gauge your trajectory, how do you know if you're actually moving in the right direction?
Right. We've thrown away the external GPS. What is the new metric for success on this independent path?
Well, The document fundamentally redefines personal success. It states categorically that success is not measured by applause, but by how much you learn, improve, and evolve each day.
Which means we have to completely change how we view the data coming in. I was actually thinking about this in business terms earlier.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because applause or approval is essentially a lagging indicator.
Lagging indicator, right?
It's a snapshot of a past event where someone else decided they liked what you did. But if you use a lagging indicator to navigate your future, you are essentially driving while staring at the rearview mirror.
You're going to crash.
Exactly. Learning and adapting, on the other hand, are leading indicators. They predict your future capability.
That is a phenomenal synthesis. Applause is static. Capability is dynamic. And if we apply that to the concept of failure, the entire paradigm shifts.
How so?
Under the old framework, the one driven by empty praise, a mistake is a complete disaster. It means the applause stops, it's a dead end.
But the text reframes this entirely. It explicitly calls challenges, mistakes, and honest advice stepping stones. It takes the exact same event, a failure, and changes its function from a roadblock to raw material.
Because a mistake is simply a blind spot manifesting in reality.
Oh, yeah.
When you make an error, reality is giving you unvarnished, honest feedback. If your metric is progress rather than praise, then that mistake isn't an attack on your worth. It is incredibly valuable data highlighting exactly where your internal map needs to be updated.
This requires moving from a performance mindset to a practice mindset, I think.
Say more about that.
Well, in a performance mindset, you're on stage.
Right.
Every action is geared toward proving you deserve to be there, and a mistake literally ruins the show. But in a practice mindset, you're in the gym.
Oh, I see.
The whole point of being there is to find the limit of your capability and fail safely so you can push that limit further.
Let's ground that in reality. What does a practice mindset look like on a random Tuesday morning?
Okay, let's play it out.
Imagine you submit a major project at work and your manager just tears it apart. They point out fundamental flaws in your logic and execution.
If I am in a performance mindset, my immediate reaction is just pure panic. My worth is tied to their approval, so this criticism feels like a literal threat to my survival.
The predator in the bushes.
Exactly. I might get defensive, blame my colleagues, or just spiral into massive imposter syndrome. I am expending all my cognitive energy managing the emotional fallout of lost praise.
But if you operate from a practice mindset, as the text advocates, your response is entirely analytical.
You step back.
Right. You might still feel the initial sting. I mean, we are human after all. But you quickly override it. You separate the tone from the data. You look at the manager's feedback and ask, where is the signal in this noise? What specific behavioral adjustment can I extract from this critique to make my next iteration stronger?
You extract the data and you update the model. The text highlights this as a daily mantra, really.
Yeah.
Focus on progress, not praise. It is not a destination you reach. It is a continuous cyclical process of evaluating your principles, making value-based decisions, making inevitable mistakes, extracting the honest feedback, and stepping up to the next level of capability.
Which is exactly why the author emphasizes that every single day is an active opportunity to become wiser and more authentic. It requires immense, sustained vigilance because, the biological pull toward the comfort of the crowd is completely relentless.
It is relentless, but the psychological relief this framework offers is equally massive. And this kind of brings us to the final thought in the source material, which perfectly synthesizes this entire shift in perspective.
That's a great quote.
I want to read the phrasing exactly as it's written because the word choice is highly deliberate here. It says, "Your greatest transformation begins the day you stop seeking validation from others and start seeking improvement within yourself. Growth is not about proving your worth to the world. It is about becoming the person you're capable of being."
Not about proving your worth to the world. If we really analyze the cognitive load of the average person, a staggering amount of daily energy is expended just trying to manage the world's perception of their worth.
It is so exhausting. We walk into a meeting, a social gathering, or even like a family event, and there is this underlying hum of anxiety.
Oh, always.
Do they think I am smart enough? Do they think I am successful? Am I playing my role correctly? We are constantly maintaining this avatar of ourselves designed specifically to harvest approval.
And this document grants you, the listener, the permission to drop that entire exhausting performance. It suggests that your worth is no longer up for debate.
What a relief.
Right. It is not something that needs to be constantly negotiated or proven to an audience. It is simply the baseline from which you operate.
When you stop bleeding all of that energy out into the crowd to manage their perceptions, you can redirect all of that focus inward.
You reclaim it.
You do. You stop acting like the person you think the tribe wants you to be, and you reallocate those resources into actually cultivating your own capabilities. It is a profound reallocation of human energy.
It is the ultimate shift from managing appearances to generating substance. But the text is clear. It demands that you actively welcome the discomfort of constructive criticism.
You can't avoid the hard parts.
No, you can't. It demands that you risk the social friction of making decisions based on your principles. You have to endure the shedding of the drywall to build the actual house.
It's a daily practice, a continuous commitment to seeking improvement over applause. And the promise of the text is that on the other side of that friction lies genuine capability, authentic relationships, and a life that is structurally sound.
As we conclude this deep dive into the mechanics of validation and growth, I want to offer a pivot.
Okay, let's hear it.
We have spent this entire conversation analyzing how to handle the feedback and support you receive as you navigate your own internal map. We focused on how you manage your own blind spots and your own social friction.
Right, focusing entirely on the listener's journey.
But let's flip the script and look at the other side of the dynamic. Think about the people in your own life, your friends, your colleagues, your family.
Okay.
When someone you care about suddenly changes their trajectory, when they stop seeking your approval and start making decisions based on a set of internal values that you might not fully understand, how do you react?
Oof. That is a deeply uncomfortable question.
It is the ultimate stress test of whether you have internalized this framework. When a loved one introduces social friction by stepping out of the role you are used to them playing, are you the one demanding their compliance to keep your own world comfortable?
Are you the one expecting the drywall?
Exactly. Are you offering them the sweet, useless trap of empty praise just to avoid the tension of their growth? Or are you the kind of true friend described in this text, a load-bearing pillar who stays beside them in the dark, welcomes their independence, and actively supports the often messy process of their genuine transformation?